Rangers, Celtic, Hamilton Academicals, Alloa, Airdrie, Dundee United. Loads of these are north of the border football teams. But Stenhousemuir is one of them. And many years ago, somebody said, "Oh, that's a Dutch. No, is it Dutch or Norwegian name?" And it's called Stonehouse Wall. That's what it means. Stenhousemuir means Stonehouse Wall, and that's a remnant of Vikings, Northmen coming down, settling, breeding up in the country, settling, having little colonies and so forth, right? Well, imagine this. The King of England is the protector of his hinterland. And he's getting reports coming from his west side, from the west side where Wales is, that people from Wales, Vikings, are coming in, raiding, raping, pillaging his people and taking his cattle and whatnot. And they're making a handsome profit of it. At some point, that's going to come to London, wherever the king was living at the time, and he's going to be, what? And then you're going to be hearing reports up north, the same shit, the same things going on. Well, the king's got to take stock, isn't he? Because if you're going to allow that, your barons are going to be saying, what kind of protection are you? Why should I be giving you taxes when my things are, you're coming to get the money, but you can't protect me from these guys? Hey, I'm going to talk to my local barons. We're all feeling it. You're down there. You're not listening. We might just revolt against you. Well, the king's got to do something, hasn't he? And I think he's got to shut the front door and the back door, because the big jewel is England. If I'm not mistaken, I was going to do this and I forgot all about it. The population of England is about 58 million, something like that. 55 million, 56 million, thereabout. Scotland is about 5 million. Northern Ireland is about 1.8. Wales is about 3.4, something like that. Southern Ireland is about, say, 2, if I'm not mistaken. There's one of them 5-ish, one of them's 4-ish, 2 of them are around about 1.8, and you've got the big 55 million. Thereabout. Wikipedia, population of England, of the United Kingdom, and you'll get the actual statistics. You'll find them fairly close in the region, right? 3.8 somebody's about 4.8 or 5, and there's one about 2, one about 1.8, right? So these are the demographic numbers we're talking about. But I mean, you have to shut the door, and I call Wales the front door or the side door, and Scotland the back door. So the king's going to say to those up in Scotland, look, this is my realm. I don't like what you're doing. Do you need some help? Do I need to warn you again? Do you need some help? And of course, Egan goes, oh, don't tell me nothing. This is our bother. But don't, yeah, no. Okay, man, you know what I mean? And away with you. Well, it happens again. I'm going to bring my army and smash you. How about that? Now behave yourself. I'm going to smash you. Now you're under my suzerainty. So let me know if there's any problem. And if you don't, I'm going to take away your baronship or whatever it is I'm giving you. But what we're going to do is start building castles, frontiers. Some of my men, train your men. That's when they come, when these Vikings come, you know what I mean? At least they know our Kenya, and they're not going to take away and come into the hinterland. Because that's where you need your border. You couldn't do it, I'm doing it for you. Same with you, Llewellyn. Llewellyn, who was King of Wales. Can't hear anything. Do you need my help? Llewellyn, do you need my help? I can't do a Welsh accent, but you know what I mean? The old 1, 2 finger, you know, don't need you. Okay, don't let me have to come up here again. All right? This is my theory. And of course, the raiding parties keep coming in. Well, no. We're going to have to do something about that. Same model. Smash you, build castles, fortifications, they ain't coming in again. So lock you down. You're now part of my suzerainty. We build a coalition. I protect you, you protect us and my people, and we're a union. You know what I mean? I mean, this is the basics with Edward Longshanks. He smashed Scotland, he smashed Wales. So we had that. They've got the conflict in Ireland that Cromwell took on later on, and you've got the division of North and South, and the Glorious Revolution, and we've got King James who fought William, and the people who financed that, and the Bank of England, 1693, all different. It's all about history and context to understand why things are the way today. The people on the ground today are just the emotional vassals who either read history, don't read history, angry about past deeds that were done against them, but cannot contextualize it as an academic can to say that's what happened when we go to war. There's always a reason for it, and a peace settling, and then, war is the last resort, But be that as it may, my theory is the strongest of... England's landlocked to Scotland, and England is landlocked to Wales. So they're like two frontiers. And and they're not populated as much as England. So we need to have that sorted. It's one of those things that can be serendipitous. Not serendipitous. There's a symbiosis. That's the word I'm looking for. What I never understood in school is, here we are, 27 miles away from France, the Channel, France. We're learning French, nothing wrong with that. But you've got Wales who speak Welsh. Why were we never taught to speak Welsh and further that relationship with the Welsh as, you know what I mean? I never understood that. And I think, anyway, it's a missed opportunity, and, the social engineers know what they're doing, but you could have given employment to some of the Welsh. You know what I mean? Really, it's part of England. It's the United Kingdom. It's got its own identity. Just because you teach somebody your language, you don't lose your identity. Do you know what I mean? And I'm sure they would have liked to have shared it, and therefore there'd be a lot more sympathy and understanding to what Wales is, and cultural sharing. I mean, it's not a perfect union. It really isn't a perfect union, but it can be better. Just need better brains. You know what I mean? Once upon a time, people used the gun, the knife, and the bayonet. They don't have to now. You use logic, intelligence, and so forth. So, that's a cultural exchange right there. Welsh could be taught in schools. That's up to the Welsh if they want to have that cultural exchange. I wouldn't force it on anybody, but it makes sense to me. Do you know what I mean? But it's part of the union. And Northern Ireland, again, due to the war, Battle of the Boyne and so forth, you've got the English part, and you've got the Republic, who are by and large, well, not by and large, they're Catholic, right? And England used to be at one stage a Catholic country until Henry VIII made it a Protestant one. And, there's a reading into it. Well, he did it because of, he wanted to, screw another wife, and she happened to be embracing the new concept of each man have his own Bible, because it is your journey in this life, and therefore it's your soul, and you have to answer ultimately for the sins that you do here on earth. Your life, okay? And it's your afterlife, if you will. This is our journey and our test. So, Southern Ireland is Catholic, and they just haven't got past that. And I'm not saying or suggesting in any way that there was not a period where there was some prejudice amongst those people of Southern Ireland. But prejudice or not, what difference does it make? Irish owned slaves. Do you know what I mean? Everybody seems to benefit off people of my hue. So, context is everything, and nobody's perfect. And I think if they had better politicians, and Britain as well, or the UK as well, things could have been different. I mean, nobody should lord it over anybody. I don't think that's right. But that's just my personal view, my personal opinion. And someone could say, well, who cares what you think, etc., etc., etc. In your best Yul Brynner, the King and I voice. I don't know, I've got the itchy nose today. So that's my theory of the union. Of course, you go through the ages, I mentioned Cromwell, and you've got the Duke of Cumberland, and the defeat of the Scots at Bannockburn and, Bonnie Prince Charlie in that era. But ultimately, a union, the first European Union, is the United Kingdom. And it works, okay? It is, as I've said, it's not perfect, but it works and it's got a lot of potential. As, new generations come, new generations examine its past, its flaws, and where it could have been so different. I say it still can be. The United Kingdom could be something now. Just because you've got a bad start in life, doesn't mean it's always going to end up that way. Many people have been born without any, cultural capital, financial capital, economic capital, familial capital. And they realize that they had a bad start in life, but they move on to do some great things. And this is what I would like to do. So, in essence, let me just reflect on what I've spoken about. I spoke about, Brexit. It's called Brexit. My union theory and no referendum. I've just explained my union theory, how it became the union. I think it was inevitable that it was going to happen, one way or another. Because we do know that the Vikings were known for two things, R&P, rape and plunder. And plunder is terra firma, the land, and rape is, or booty. That's what booty means, taking of the females and breeding them out, breeding yourself into them. Because, I'm not going to go down there, but there is something to it, okay? There's definitely something to it. Thus, rape has been a weapon of war in Europe for years. It's always been a weapon of war. I noticed how a few years back they were saying, Africa, rape has been used as a weapon. And if you didn't think critically, you'd think this raping of women was an African thing. But no. This has been going on possibly with people from the minute one society disagreed with another. And conflict arose. Raping has been going on. We definitely know that it happened during the Civil War, when the Yanks came down to Shenandoah Valley and Georgia, and they burnt and raped. I mean, they burnt pretty much everything in sight. That was policy. I call it war crimes. And Lincoln would say it was a great tactic. We won, That's why we also have to be very careful about narratives we are given from winners, even if you happen to be on the winner's side or grow up among the winners, because there's not everything that I was taught as a child happens to be, one, brilliant, two, it's grimy, and three, I'm not quite sure this was just. I'm like, Well, World War One wasn't should never have been fought. World War Two should never have been fought. And if you'd left it to me, the American Civil War should have been the last of all wars. But of course, the international bankers always get what they want. I think on the European mainland, it should have been made clear, 1815, with Napoleon, that this isn't a war other than a game for international bankers, right? They'd known that. Because, it's always coalition. We was raised on Duke of Wellington won the Battle of Waterloo. Well, it wasn't just the Duke of Wellington. It's just like the coalition that you would see now with NATO. The bankers always get a coalition for everybody to go on, pile in on one dude that doesn't want to do what they say. And they keep doing it. Saddam Hussein, a coalition. Gaddafi, a coalition. Al-Assad, a coalition. Anybody that resist what these international bankers say, they seem to be able to click their fingers, dog whistle politics, and, these Europeans are quick to want to destroy a functioning society on behest of, So I know I kind of drifted a bit because I recapped on Brexit, the state of play. Today's Monday. Theresa May's going to go to the House and explain exactly what she got from Europe. People want to vote and get her deal out of the way. They want to vote on it, vote it down, and get it out of the way, because she hasn't brought nothing back from Europe, and I can say that. I just know that she, those are all the indications that we know. They're not going to change the text. That's that. So I reflected on where Brexit is at the moment. There's no referendum. Well, I mean, it goes without saying. Well, no second referendum. No, thank you. Ultimately, you voted not to have a say. That was your thing. You didn't want to have a say. You cannot tell. I was listening to an interview on TV, and there was a gay guy. They're all over the place. A gay guy. He's for remaining a second referendum, and his argument was, well, we were lied to, and we don't know what's on the deal. We need to know. And the girl says to him, "You don't know what the euro is going to be. The EU is going to be. They want a European. Oh no, they don't. They've been saying it. So they're up there blatantly lying. Blatantly lying. You know what I mean? Merkel said it. Macron. Everybody's been saying what they should do and what they're going to do, and it's been policied out. And it's been a creep, boil the frog in a pot syndrome. This is why we want out. Right? It should have never have happened in the first place. We should have never have joined this evil dictatorship in the first place. That was a slap in the face for everybody in the Commonwealth. Here's your Commonwealth. Help to fight your wars, feed you, refuel your ships. The steel pans, the carnival. Those steel pans were the oil drums that these ships fighting in the high seas will come to the Caribbean, Trinidad and so forth, and get refilled. Guyana and what was left was the empty drums. Well, it's a magnificent thing they did. They had bong, 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 bong sounds. They cut them, shaped them up, got the sound business, and made steel pans out of them. That's a legacy of World War II. Well, I had to cut that. Unfortunately, I haven't been feeling top of the world of late. But there you have it. There's always something on my... silly me, I should have switched it down. And I recapped on the union. So it was Brexit where we are today. It was no to a second referendum, definitely not. You don't want to say. You didn't want to say. You want a dictatorship. Well, we're going to get a dictatorship. Only insofar as we dictate the terms of how we're leaving. You don't get a say. That's the only dictatorship you should accept. You ought to accept that dictatorship. It's brief, because once we're out, we get back to allowing everybody to have a say. Whereas you didn't ever want to have a say. You want the EU to dictate to you. You, right? So I reflected on that, and I waffled a bit. Ray to the West Indies, they beat Bangladesh today in the T20. Big up Shy Hope. They've been pretty bad, woeful, over the last couple of months. Years, in fact. I'm an ardent fan of the West Indies cricket, even though there's not much to be a fan of. But they got potential, and I think once they got the correct administration, they'll do fine. I think I will leave this video here at this point. I don't know that there is much more I need to or want to add. Apart from, I will say this in parting. This is very serious, a very serious matter. Now, in this country, we've got these private radio stations, community radio stations. In America, they call them micro stations. And they broadcast every week without fail. They will not talk about these issues. They're all Marcus Garvey. They are disrespectful to white people, backhandedly. We got these two Jamaicans in South London, and they're a disgrace. They can barely read a text, barely read. They cannot even formulate a question. They've got a phone-in show, and they do no work to say what they're going to say in the first place. They put on... It's really embarrassing. I really would like to use their name. I think, personally, they're MI5. I think they're COINTELPRO. The things I've heard that radio station say, Mozart was black, everything was black, we're great, we're kings and queens, and all that nonsense, and they celebrate Kwanzaa. They did speak about Kwanzaa, because we're in December the 17th, and these are the guys that they actually celebrate a day called African Liberation Day. These are the same people that couldn't stand Gaddafi because I'm an Arab man in Africa, an Arab man. But once they heard when Gaddafi was dead, all of a sudden, Gaddafi was good, he was doing this, he was doing that. This is, if you don't have a memory, you think these guys were they're not. They're stooges. They were throwing it down. At this moment, they are talking about female genitalia mutilation. They don't even understand that. And the only people who call it female genital mutilation are the same racist pseudoscientists of the 19th century that will call them savage. And everybody else. Don't understand it, just noble savage. That's what they're doing. They do not understand it, and I know they don't understand it. But they're taking their marching orders from the you-know-whos. So they don't speak about these issues, about Brexit, what it actually means. And I think you need to watch, you may want to watch some of my, every video concerning Brexit to understand, does it play a part in your life? And it will. I think with that, I'm going to wrap this up. But I've got some interesting topics in the future to come. Don't worry about it. It's all good. And this has been iCubian Organis at your service.